Now, XTB is an exceptional platform for executing investments, and a considerable number of individuals are contemplating making investments via this platform. Nonetheless, they are making certain errors, and today I am going to help you avoid those mistakes. Let's assume, for instance, that I wish to formulate a new investment strategy, and suppose I am interested in investing in the S&P 500. When you're investing in the S&P 500, you'll discover that there are numerous ETFs of this nature. What occurs is that when you select a specific one, you can click on this icon that appears here on the right, and it will directly display both the commission, which is essential to consider, as well as the holdings, indicating what is being invested in either by category or specific action. In the case of the United States, the specific action typically appears. So observe this, technology 31.79, and here appears Apple Inc. 0.75%. What would happen if, for example, I decide, well, I want to invest in multiple ETFs? It doesn't matter, it must be several ETFs, and that's the only thing that interests me. If, for instance, I've already invested in this one, let's say the IVV, and I scroll down to this other one, which is also quite appealing to individuals when they are going to invest, and you click here again to examine the holdings, you realize that it practically has the same composition as the other ETF. It's not that the ETF is inferior or something similar, it's that it has a very high correlation, meaning they invest in the same thing in the same index in the SP. So tell me, why would I invest twice in the same thing? What I desire is to diversify, and I genuinely like it, and we're going to proceed in this manner that when I create a new plan, these ETFs appear here, and I actually think they are arranged in such a way that they are already diversified. I like them significantly, by the way. You know that I have investments in other brokers, so what I'm going to seek here is to invest initially in brokers based in Europe. As you can see here, UK signifies United Kingdom, and I want to delve a bit into other sectors that I don't have in these other brokers precisely to diversify. Because what benefit is it to invest the same here as I'm going to invest on the other side? So here we actually have this first one, which is the SP. Now, if I wish to go further, what I can do is click here again, read this in detail, and if I desire, copy this here, the ticker, and search for it. In this section, we have the opportunity to examine the specific ETF and delve into its details. By clicking here, it will present us with the performance it has achieved up to this point, which for this year has been negative 3.40%. It's important to recall that this year, the S&P 500 has not experienced the most favorable performance, which is precisely why we aim to pursue a more diversified investment approach. This strategy ensures that if the S&P 500 underperforms, or rather fails to meet expectations, we can offset it with the other ETFs. In fact, I intend to employ another significant strategy here, which is the method of investment, and for me, once again, the optimal way to invest is through the technique of dollar cost averaging. What does that mean? If, for example, I had $100,000 right now that I want to use to build my portfolio, I wouldn't invest them all at once and choose the ETFs and say, all right, I'm going to invest $100,000. No, what I would do is divide those $100,000 over a time frame of 6 months, 1 year, and monthly divide these $100,000 over a year into 12 months, and then invest that amount of money monthly. So first, over here we have the S&P 500. Let's choose this one specifically. And over here we have one that focuses on large global companies. So what happens here is that we need to look into the matter that, look, here we have this one, and over here we have this other one that can practically be the same. Even this one here, except that this one includes emerging economies, meaning it can include China within these because there are certain indicators that suggest it. But for me, China is no longer an emerging economy, but that's another topic to discuss. And what should we look at in each of these? As I just mentioned, we go into this one, scroll down here, notice that this one has a cost of 0.2%, this one here has a cost of 0.12%, and over here we have a cost of 0.22%. So what would we look at to determine which of these three might be the best? Certainly, the initial aspect to consider is the 5-year return, and it is presenting us with the 5-year return for each of them once more, which is the concern here, as these are outcomes, but they do not assure future outcomes, so it's an important factor to bear in mind. Now, what we should examine in the subsequent position is also the expense, which in this instance is 0.2 or 0.2%. Keep in mind that for it to be 0.2, it would indeed be 0.2. Then we transition over here to the one on the right and observe that this one is 0.22, indicating it is 0.02 more costly than this one. And then this one over here has a cost of 0.12, signifying it is less expensive than these two here. The profitability aspect is also present, with this one having a return of 149.45. If I want to explore further, as mentioned before, we look in the holding section and see Apple, Nvidia, Microsoft, Amazon, and others. I'm especially curious about the others category to see what percentage is allocated there. What are we planning to do? Once more, we are going to search for this particular item over here, and here we discover something that didn't entirely persuade me, and remember that this is akin to the total market, signifying something like the entire world. What is happening with this particular situation? In various countries, we observed the United States holding a substantial 70%. So what exactly is transpiring? I am already investing in the S&P 500, and therefore the correlation between these 2 points can be quite significant. I might end up investing in the identical assets, or rather I am indeed doing so, because if we examine here, Apple holds 5.46%, and if you recall in this other instance, we had something around 6% in the SP as well. So well, I'm not particularly interested, because if I genuinely want to invest in something within the general market, I am clearly very inclined towards investing in the United States, but I'm uncertain about maintaining such a high percentage. Nevertheless, I am going to continue researching these ETFs, construct my portfolio, and subsequently proceed to make the deposit and invest, so you can observe how it operates. After conducting some research, I've already crafted this specific portfolio. It's a portfolio that I might modify over time, which this platform permits us to do. At the moment, I haven't assigned specific percentages yet, but will determine what percentage I allocate to each of them. What I wanted you to notice is that on the right side, it indicates that since December 2020, this portfolio has achieved this return based on these allocations and weightings. For instance, if I come here and add a bit more to the SP, it will increase here. And if I come and, for example, to this semiconductor I selected and allocate 50% and obviously reduce the others to optimize it, we'll observe the difference it makes. It increased to 69% because this ETF here, as the risk is also a crucial factor, had a very favorable return in recent days. It hasn't been as favorable lately, but I have confidence and optimism that it will rise over time. Well, the maximum loss I could have encountered over time is minus 11.82%. And the minimum investment in this portfolio would be $23. So now I'm going to weight it, examine what percentage I assign to each one. We do this again based on the strategy we have and the risk profile we possess. I could perfectly leave it as it is here, and by the way, I'm not going to explain this portfolio, but just so you comprehend a bit about this ETF is based in India, an economy that I currently haven't invested in on other platforms, so I want to experiment with it here. Then over here are the emerging economies, which we are also investing in through this other ETF that encompasses various regions across the globe. I endeavored to select one that is minimally exposed to the United States. Nevertheless, among all the ETFs worldwide, the majority are indeed invested in the United States. Yet, I appreciated this one because it is somewhat more balanced in comparison to other countries. Then there's the S&P 500, the most traditional and typical, and we have these over here. So I'm going to allocate the percentage to each of them based on my strategy. Remember, this is entirely my strategy, and you will develop your own. All right, we already have the percentages here. It's already weighted. And surely you might say, CHECHO, you're missing some fixed income. I feel that many times we focus a lot on fixed income, but within the ETFs themselves, we already have that here. So I think that personally, at this moment, I wouldn't want to add something directly in fixed income, something exclusive like REITs or bonds. I wouldn't want to add it personally. All right, in this specific investment strategy, we have allocated 10% in the India ETF, 10% in the Europe ETF, 20% in semiconductors, 15% in emerging markets, 25% in the world ETF, which represents the global markets, and 20% in the S&P 500. This is my present investment strategy, and please keep in mind that while this is intended for use at this moment, these percentages can certainly be adjusted later on if necessary. And there you have it. We've successfully created the investment plan, and now we have the DTF plan. We will present this plan on a monthly basis to observe its performance, allowing you to see any modifications we implement, whether we maintain it, close it, and subsequently alter it, or if we increase the percentage, the weighting, and so forth. ETF plan, we are going to save the icon here, and if we desire, we can modify it if it's for a particular objective, like purchasing a car, acquiring a house, or whatever else. In this situation, I don't have a specific objective. It's merely to generate financial growth over time to produce a return, so the funds don't just remain idle, so to speak. Here, you transfer funds to the investment plan. This is where you can select how you wish to deposit funds, so you can automate the investment to invest a specific amount of money on a monthly basis. I'm going to leave an investment of $200, and we'll do it as a periodic investment here, or a manual investment where you invest yourself and then subsequently have to do it. So we click next and wait for it to load. At this moment, we don't have this money available, so now I'm going to deposit it. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to do it with Skrill using this option. I'll do it and show you once I have the money deposited. All right, we've just made the deposit here. We click OK, and now it shows we've deposited $294.12. Now let's go back to our ETF plan, transfer funds from here. Click again on periodic investment with our balance and wait for it to load. We already have the percentages assigned, so we put the $200 I'm going to invest here. I'm not sure if it will be bi-weekly or monthly. For now, we'll leave it as monthly and we can change it later. This starts on the 24th and that's it. Now we'll go to the summary to see how it looks. It tells us the ETF plan is $200 to be deposited each month starting Monday the 24th, and that's it. I hereby declare that I understand investing in exchange traded funds. I confirm the order and it's active. And that's it. You'll see the investment plan here and now it will show as pending execution. Why? Because the stock market is currently not open. This will naturally be executed once the market opens and the deposit is completed. And look, it turned out quite impressive because we have $40 here, $50 here, $30 here, and that concludes it. It's as straightforward as that. Genuinely remarkable.